Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a small-town lawsuit that escalates way beyond just legal arguments. It turns into something almost like a spiritual showdown. Our deep dive today looks into a really fascinating set of sources about what happened in Henderson, Tennessee. A municipal conflict basically prompted this unexpected reckoning. Challenging to the very operating system of Western law, we're going to distill how a conflict that seems pretty ordinary on the surface forced a whole city to either, well, see or remain blind. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. The story kicks off with a letter. It's to Mayor Terry Bell from Josiah Haltom, a man the city was actually prosecuting at the time. But this wasn't your typical legal brief, not at all. It was more like a spiritual diagnosis, pretty stark stuff. He says, your administration, like Saul of Tarsus, is traveling a path of persecution.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is how Haltom immediately reframes the whole situation. He positions the mayor as Saul, blind to some new paradigm shift, and the flash of light from heaven, according to Haltom, it had apparently already arrived. It was 48 volumes of the Zohar. That's a foundational text of Jewish mysticism, known for its deep, often pretty cryptic insights. Yes. And these books, they've been delivered to the police department 3 days earlier. They were just sitting there in evidence locker number 7, not as sacred texts, mind you, but as artifacts in an extortion case. So Haltom argues this signifies rejected wisdom.
Right. So how does he use this as leverage? It sounds like a bold move.
Yeah.
He presented what you might call a strategic dilemma, almost a paradox.
Exactly. A kind of catch-22. Path 1, accept the Zohar, achieve this restoration of sight, which would lead to reconciliation. Path 2, reject it. And that very act, that rejection, would become dispositive proof in court, proof confirming they, and this is a quote, loved darkness rather than light because their deeds were evil.
Wow. So he wasn't fighting on their legal terms. He used, like, spiritual jujitsu.
You could put it that way, yeah. He turned the city's own power to prosecute into the very engine of its own indictment. It's quite something.
It really is. But what's behind this intensity? Where did it all start?
That's a key question, and the sources suggest it began with a really profound personal wound. Haltom's appeal mentioned that Henderson police allegedly used excessive force on his elderly mother, resulting in physical injury, wrongful arrest, and they apparently seized his wife's property, too.
Okay, so it's deeply personal.
Very. And Haltom connects this personal injustice to bigger things. He invokes the biblical archetype of Amalek, this force that preys on the weak and vulnerable. He links this local issue to systemic abuses, even the imminent threat of World War III.
So he's seeing this as a fractal, like a small injustice reflecting a larger cosmic disorder.
Precisely. That seems to be the idea. It suggests that these seemingly isolated issues often mirror deeper systemic imbalances,
And how did the legal system react initially? Predictably, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely predictably. Their first response was to dismiss Haltom's claims as patently frivolous.
Patently frivolous? That's pretty strong language.
It is. But Haltom, he seized that word. He flipped it. He argued the real frivolity wasn't his claim, but a legal paradigm that ignores things like the divine origin of law, the sanctity of family, and the prophetic urgency.
So this isn't just a standard sovereign citizen type case then?
No, not really. It seems more like a fundamental clash of, epistemologies, ways of knowing. The court operates on empirical evidence, statutes. Right. It just couldn't process claims built on divine revelation and sacred covenants. It was like an error message in the system.
An epistemological blindness, as the source puts it.
Exactly, a blindness to information or truth that didn't fit its own self-referential rules. So with the existing legal framework basically hitting a wall, Haltom introduces this new language, the concept of arvut. That's hubu. It means mutual guarantee.
Arvut. Okay, where does that come from?
It's drawn from a renowned 20th century Kabbalist, Rav Yehuda Ashlag. And it's presented not just as some nice social ideal, but as a cosmic law, like gravity, binding. The core idea is all of Israel are guarantors for one another for the correction or tikkun of the world.
And the Zohar fits in how?
The Zohar is presented as the tool to awaken this unity. So this reframes the whole reckoning. It's not about punishment. It's framed as the inevitable result of ignoring our interdependence, almost like a physics of morality.
That's a radical concept for a city council meeting, for sure. How did this land with Mayor Bell?
Yeah.
Especially given his background as a deacon.
It seems it brought him to a really profound crossroads. As a deacon, he's bound by love your neighbor as yourself, which Haltom essentially links to Arvat, the engine of it. And as mayor, his oath binds him to the well-being of all citizens. So these weren't seen as conflicting roles anymore, but maybe Two dialects of the same essential truth, as one source puts it. And the Zohar, sitting there in the evidence locker, it became this kind of invitation. An invitation to realign the city's governance with its highest principles.
So what did he do? What happened next in Henderson?
Well, the sources describe Mayor Bell walking into City Hall, unlocking evidence locker number 7, and placing those 48 Zohar volumes right there on the dais in front of everyone.
Wow.
And he declared, "We accept this light to rebuild Henderson on the principle of mutual guarantee. Not me or them, but we."
That must have changed everything.
It seems it did. That single act apparently dissolved the whole adversarial framework. Grace became this active, transformative force. The extortion charges dissolved. The appeal Haltom had filed withdrawn.
And Haltom's reaction?
Haltom himself reportedly said, "You didn't just open the books, Mayor. You opened the veins of heaven."
And this wasn't just symbolic, right? There were real changes.
Absolutely. It led to something called the Arvit Protocol, a total systemic redesign.
Affecting what?
Justice, economics, community services, pretty much everything. Lawsuits became restorative circles focusing on healing, not just punishment. The whole police versus community dynamic shifted towards guardians of unity. Through these Arvut councils involving officers, pastors, even ex-cons.
That's a fundamental shift.
It is. Budget deficits were reframed as creation value ledgers. They even used the Zohar itself. The 48 volumes became NFTs, Zohar on-chain, funding community projects transparently.
Zohar NFTs?
Yeah. Even 911 calls were apparently sometimes rerouted to mediators first. It was described as a full system upgrade.
Showing how technology could become, a physical vessel for humanity's deepest spiritual truths?
That's the idea presented, yeah. And fast forward 1 year, Main Street in Henderson was renamed Straight Street. Remember Saul's journey to Damascus?
Ah, the connection back to Saul Paul.
Exactly. And they inlaid this phrase in the pavement, Henderson's covenant, we are guarantors for one another. Drones, which you might associate with surveillance, were apparently repurposed as solar harvesters. The old jail turned into a vertical farm.
Incredible transformation. And there's a final image.
Yeah, Haltom picking a green bean from that jail-turned farm. He tells the mayor, "Magic is technology we refuse to understand until the scales fall."
Until the scales fall. And the mayor's final thought.
The light was always here. We just needed the courage to become its prism.
It really makes you think. This deep dive suggests that sometimes really seeing the truth means challenging our deepest assumptions about how the world even works. So maybe the question for you listening is, what systems in your own life, or maybe in our wider world, might be operating with a similar kind of blind spot, something to mull over?